Hey, I'm Shana Meyerson with YOGAthletica. I'm here today to show you how to do a handstand in the middle of the room. And I thought I'd tell you a little bit about my personal journey off the wall and into the middle of the room. Because for like the longest time, like probably years, I was doing handstands in front of the wall. I wasn't even touching the wall. But it was like my safety net. I was scared to try it off the wall. And so when I finally decided, okay, I'm gonna go to the middle of the room, I was scared to death, and this is what it looked like. Yeah, I know, that was pretty pathetic, and my heart was completely beating through my chest, which makes no sense because I could already do a full handstand. So I'm going to show you today how to take baby steps to learn how to do a handstand. Just a warning, you're going to have to get rid of your ego. Okay, so this isn't about nailing this right now. It's about learning how to do a handstand that you could truly balance. Okay, so first thing you need to know is hands, right? Handstand. You want nice wide hands, okay? Because the wider your hands are, the more surface area you have on the floor, the easier it's going to be to balance. You want your fingers to be like sort of clingy rather than super flat, because your fingers are going to help you to control the actions. So when I press into my fingertips, it's going to press me back towards standing, towards downward facing dog, if I feel like I'm flipping over. And if I feel like I'm not all the way up, I could use the heel of my palm to move me more towards vertical. So I've got my hands. I place my hands on the floor. They're nice and clingy. And I go into like a little mini dog, like about 1/3 of a dog. Okay? This is where it's going to help to have some really nice open hamstrings, because you're going to step in a little bit and lift your dominant leg as high to the sky as you can. The higher this leg is, the less it needs to travel to get to vertical. So I take my gaze, it's going to be about 2 inches in front of the middle of my thumbs, and I'm going to stabilize it. I'm not going to shift my gaze at all. My top leg is up, and it's reaching for the sky. And I start with just little tiny baby hops, like this. The main thing that you want is to try to land really lightly. Okay, that means that you're moving in control, you're using your core. So baby hops start to get a little bigger and a little bit braver until one day it's what you might call an L shape. This top leg is lifting me, but this bottom leg is not only moderating me, but that bottom leg really forces me into my core. Because without core, you can't find balance, okay? It's the difference between moving from muscle versus momentum, okay? So with momentum, you'll be able to do a handstand for a good second. It looks like this. And that's how most people do their first few handstands. And like, that's not really gonna teach you anything about balance. Because in order to get balance, my mantra is always move from balance, down dog, that's very simple, through balance, that's the process between dog and handstand, and into balance. Okay, so you can't just go the first day from dog to handstand and be like this magic pill. Like, you have to work the process, okay? That would be like making love one night and having a baby 5 minutes later. Like, it doesn't work that way. You gotta go through the pregnancy, okay? So these baby steps are the pregnancy, okay? So we take our little jumps, and once you feel like L is completely manageable for you, and remember, we're working that fine line between bravery and stupidity, okay? Bravery gets me into an L, stupidity flips me over and potentially hurts me, okay? So, hands until I have my L. Once you can hold your L for 3 to 5 seconds, then very slowly you start to lift that bottom leg. So that I'm finding real balance instead of perceived balance, right? You always want to look for something that's sustainable, not just obtainable. Okay, so the key is we're moving from muscle instead of momentum. So that eventually you're actually not going to be jumping at all. You're just going to press into your handstand. Now this takes some practice. And one thing to keep in mind is handstand is about the positioning of the hips. You want your hips over your shoulders, over your wrists. I think one of the things that we think about too much is the position of the legs. And the legs are sort of the afterthought, okay? It's core engagement, hip positioning, and then leg lifting. So eventually, again, your hop is so light that it's actually not a hop at all. So I've got my wide hands. My gaze is forward. My shoulders are above my wrists. My top leg is high. Now I stretch this top leg. I stretch it, stretch it, stretch it. So that very slowly, all core, I move into my full handstand. Now again, I'm using my fingertips. Heel of the palm presses me backwards. Fingertips push me to the floor. So, that's my journey in handstand, and I hope it helps you to make your journey into handstand. I'm Shana Meyerson with Yoga Athletica in Los Angeles, and I hope to see you on YouTube more in the future.